the Honorable Secretary of State, John F. Kerry, and Her Excellency, Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović, President of the Republic of Croatia.
Good morning, everyone. So it's been 5 years since President Obama challenged all of us to break down barriers of women's political participation and economic empowerment. Since then, the Equal Futures Partnership, which launched with only 13 original members, has grown to more than 30 today and still counting. The partnership is now led, and we're so grateful for this, by a new chair, the government of Croatia. And most importantly, members of the partnership have worked together to fulfill their commitments so that someday, not too far in the future, women will have the same political and economic opportunities as men. The key here is that we work together, creating equal futures. The equal opportunity to work, to lead, and to achieve takes everyone, governments, the private sector, civil society, and citizens all around the world coming together to make that change. That's why we're here today, because we know that through the leadership of the countries represented here and in partnership with each other, equal futures for women and men are truly possible. It's now my pleasure to introduce a leader in the effort to achieve equality. Throughout his entire career, he has tackled some of the most stubborn barriers to women's full participation. From his days as a prosecutor, to his time in the U.S. Senate, to his leadership at the State Department, he has strengthened the foundation for gender equality. We are tremendously grateful every day for his leadership and support, and we're truly delighted that he's here to join us today. So please welcome Secretary of State John Kerry.
Well, good morning, everybody. And good morning, Kathy, and thank you so much for your brilliant stewardship of this initiative. I really appreciate what you are doing. Everywhere I go around the world, Kathy is there with an army of women that she has helped to organize somewhere in the world, and it's wonderful to see what she is doing. And I am blessed to work with a president, vice president, both of whom are married to remarkable women, as am I might add. And I have two fabulous daughters, both of whom are out in the world doing great things. So I literally cannot go home if I am not champion. Just joking. And I'm here. I see the Vice President's sister, Valerie, is here, who's been a great influence in his life and is a champion of this effort, as is Jill. So we are blessed to have a tremendous team, I want you to know, that is genuinely focused on this. And the Vice President and I worked on these issues in the Senate for years. As you know, he was the champion of the Violence Against Women Act, wrote it, and led the efforts on it. And I was privileged to do many things as a prosecutor and otherwise in working for victim witness and rape counseling and other things going back 30, 35, 40 years. Scary. So I am really happy to be here with all of you, and I am so grateful to Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović, the President of Croatia, and also a Fulbright alumna. And we are really, really pleased that she is offering her leadership to make sure that women have access to opportunities and to rights, and she is going to take on this fight, and we're so grateful to her for that. Also want to welcome our four newest partners in this effort, the Republic of Korea, Canada, Colombia, and Montenegro. Your contributions to this will help us to build on the momentum that was surged really 5 years ago when President Obama challenged the heads of state everywhere to break down gender barriers in health, education, political, and economic inclusion. At our first gathering, 11 nations answered that call. And as Kathy just mentioned, we now are up to 32 members. Most importantly, a host of allies in academia, civil society, the private sector, So we're here because we know in our gut and in our heart, as well as our head, that ensuring equal access for women to economic and political power is not just a positive thing to do. It's essential, and it has profoundly important impacts to building civil society, to building community, to strengthening whole nation states. And just as no team in sports, I mean, we all love our sports analogies, no team, can win playing at half strength. Well, no country, no community can grow and prosper or ignore, if it pushes to one side, the energy and the talents of one half of its population. So the bottom line is simple. When more girls go to school, human capital increases. When more women join the labor force, economies become more sustainable and more diverse. When more women are engaged in public service, governments become literally more accountable and much more likely to meet urgent social needs. And despite all of this, obviously, we still know that unacceptable barriers to women's participation in politics and in the workforce still exist, even here in my own country. Too many women still lack the access to capital, to credit, and to the training that they need in order to be able to compete fairly. And in some places, women are denied the right to even own land. In others, discriminatory traditions stack the odds against them going to college, against their getting a job, against their starting a business, against their full participation in society. As a result, women remain underrepresented in every aspect of political and public life. Only 1 in 5 of the world's parliamentarians is a woman. Women control just 1/5 of global wealth, and only 22 Fortune 500 firms are headed by women. That is less than 5%. In 2016, that is not a great record. And the good news is that pledges made through Equal Futures Partnership are, in fact, closing the gap, enacting laws that help women get on the ballot, launching action plans against gender-based violence, boosting women's representation in male-dominated industries, creating mentorship programs for ethnic minority women, and, frankly, much, much more. So step by step, we are moving forward, and I'm convinced that we're going to continue to do so. Empowering women and girls is a strategic priority for the United States of America. And no matter which party leads our government, we are committed to making sure that women have an equal chance on the boards of corporations, in parliaments and congresses, and at leadership across the table. We know also that gaining full equality for women still is a challenge. But it's an easy choice. I mean, it's really not something you have to wrestle with that hard to figure out, particularly as the planet gets closer and closer and communications have opened up opportunities for everybody everywhere to know what other people are thinking and able to do everywhere else in the world, which also illuminates what people are not able to do in the places that they live. So accomplishing this goal of full equality, if you read all of the studies, look at all of the analysis, and there's a lot more of it nowadays than ever before, it all documents the benefits that flow to countries, to corporations, to entities, to local governments, to anybody who does this, actually winds up benefiting significantly from it. And so I can tell you unequivocally that we will not rest until we can say with confidence that all the barriers to justice have been removed, that all the examples of discrimination have been exposed, that all glass ceilings have been shattered, and all perpetrators of abuse and bigotry are held to account. And in that effort, we invite people everywhere in the world to join us, and we caution all, nobody's going to stop this from happening. Thank you. My great pleasure now to introduce the President of Croatia, President Kitarović. Thank you.
Well, I think this is... Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Kerry and Ambassador Russell, for your hard work and leadership in this initiative. Allow me to welcome you all, our members and partners, and those who are yet to join us, as the Equal Futures Partnership is growing stronger by the year. Your presence here today is a sign of recognition that political leadership is crucial in ensuring positive trends and providing support to women's full participation in politics and business around the world. In 4 short years, our partnership grew into a strong global initiative, with each and every member and partner strongly committed to ensuring gender equality as a human right. I would like to thank the members for your endorsement of Croatia's bid to chair the Partnership 2016, the responsibility that Croatia assumed in March of this year. We have so far held 3 very constructive expert meetings on topics that were recognized as paramount by our members. Together with the United States, we have launched a website that will serve as a platform for direct exchanges between partners and for the promotion of our actions. And today I join Secretary Kerry in proudly welcoming 4 new members that joined our partnership this year: Canada, Colombia, Montenegro, and the Republic of Korea. This enlargement is a sign of recognition that despite global effort, gender inequalities are still deeply rooted in our societies. Women continue to earn considerably less, have fewer assets, and bear the burden of unpaid work and care. Violence against women continues to affect 1 in 3 women, making it one of the widest spread human rights violations. However, your interest is also a clear indication of our partnership's value in closing the gender gap and of the benefits realized through cooperation and the exchange of ideas, practices, and experiences, both positive and negative. We encourage our members to cooperate regardless of geographic boundaries, to find the most appropriate solutions to our common problems. We promote and support pairings on very specific issues, from the economic empowerment of survivors of gender-based violence, through the empowerment of women in managerial positions in trade, to the promotion of girls and women in the IT sector. In September of last year, we adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the ambitious Sustainable Development Goals. In seeking to realize human rights of every single individual, we define gender equality not only as a standalone goal, but as a key indicator in the achievement of all other goals. This is where the Equal Future Partnership steps in. Through our specific commitments, we can address the structural causes of gender-based inequalities by enacting laws, enabling solid institutional infrastructures, and adequate financial resources. We can educate, change attitudes, and gender norms. Together and through concrete projects, we can support each other in creating a favorable environment for gender-responsive implementation of the 2030 Agenda. As a member of the Equal Futures Partnerships, Croatia remains strongly committed to achieving our shared goal of women's political and economic empowerment and of permanently putting an end to all forms of sexual and gender-based violence. We're currently drafting a new 5th-in-a-row national policy for gender equality for the period of 2016 to 2020. However, we are well aware that there is still a lot of room for improvement in our own country and, of course, worldwide. The fact that only 19 women were elected to the Croatian parliament during the last parliamentary elections in Croatia that took place only about 10 days ago was a sobering and disappointing fact. Women will now take only 12.5% of seats in the parliament, compared to an already devastating 15% after the previous elections, and the trend that instead of having more women in parliament through consecutive elections, our number has actually been decreasing. This is well below the 40%, which is the gender quota for each party's electoral list. And I am horribly disappointed that political parties will rather pay fines that include women on their ballot lists. A sign how far we still have to go. No community, no country, no region can prosper if the rights of women, half of the world's population, are denied. I'm looking at Valerie here, and I remember our meeting in Brussels on women empowerment several years ago, when we concluded that if you, as an individual, use only half of your brain, half of your strength, half of your imagination, you will only arrive to half solutions. And as humanity, if you use only half of your power, half of your people, you will never achieve full progress. So let us continue our fight against gender-based discrimination and violence, our fight for equal rights and equal opportunities for women and girls around the world. As leaders, we have the responsibility to ensure that empowerment of women and girls and the protection of their human rights is a national priority and an issue of global progress and security. And in the end, let me quote President Obama, who will soon be leaving the office, but I hope that the U.S. will continue the same policy. When I was Croatia's ambassador to the U.S., the most striking thing that I heard from President Obama in his first electoral campaign that really made me respect him was his strong sentence, "I want my daughters to have the exact same opportunities as your sons." And this is what it is all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary, Madam President. We really very much appreciate your participation today. Thank you for that. Unfortunately, Secretary Kerry, as you can imagine, has a crazy schedule and has to attend another meeting. But So I would now like to introduce Mr. Choi Jong-moon, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for Multilateral and Global Affairs for the Republic of Korea, as a representative of our 4 new Equal Futures members that joined in 2016. We're so excited that the Republic of Korea joined us only 3 weeks ago and is already sharing its views on the future of the initiative. And our final speaker will be Ms. Lakshmi Puri, my friend from she's the Executive Deputy Director of UN Women and just an incredibly powerful voice and strong advocate for women around the world. So, sir, if you could take this. Would you like this thing out or in? This is what happens when you have a tall secretary. You have this thing.
Yeah, he must be pretty tall. Okay, good morning. The President, Graba Kitarovic, and Ambassador Russell, and Lakshmi Puri, Deputy Executive Director of UN Women, and ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to be a part of this auspicious occasion this morning, and to say a few words on behalf of new members. If I use a sports analogy, and new rookies, namely the Canada, Colombia, and Montenegro, and Republic of Korea. The membership of the Equal Future Partnership has sharply increased over the past few years, which I believe is the testimony of the invaluable role that it has played in advancing women's political participation and economic empowerment. Today's meeting is especially timely and appropriate as it is being held in the very first year of implementing the SDGs, which include standalone goal 5 for women and girls, but also cross-cutting gender-respective targets and indicators. Since the designation of 1975 as the International Women's Year, the international community has continued to invigorate the discussions on gender equality and women's empowerment, holding a World Conference on Women in Mexico City, Copenhagen, Nairobi, and Beijing, to name a few. Indeed, it has come a long way, and progress has been made. As for the Republic of Korea, there have been, in my script, it is great, but actually I'm not sure whether it is great, but we have made some progress in the status of a woman. Now, I don't have to look far for an example. When I joined the Foreign Service in 1983, in my batches, 20, they were all men, not even a single woman. But however, today, there are more female diplomats joining the ministry than male diplomats. And and then, whether you believe it or not, last year, we make use of the affirmative action for male candidate. Yes. Yeah. However, I don't want to mislead all of you here. No, I know that everybody knows that we still have a long, long way to go before we sleep. Korea, in particular, is facing all kind of problems, in the field of women's, the gender equality and the empowerment and blah, blah, blah. You just name it, we have it. And particularly, we are faced with, if I choose one, most serious issue is the discontinuation of women's careers due to pregnancy, childbirth, and childbearing. So in this regard, Korea looks forward to the different experiences and best practices, policies, and assets of the EFP member countries, contributing greatly to the full realization of gender equality and women's empowerment, not only in my country, but also across the globe. Thank you.
Ambassador Russell, Mr. Minister from Korea, dear friends, indeed, UN Women has been a committed, partner, but also an avid supporter of this wonderful initiative, which has been and which will, I believe, be regarded as one of President Obama's great legacies, and a symbol of the commitment of the U.S. administration as a whole, the Vice President, the Secretary of State, every one of them, and yourself, Ambassador Russell, also in your role as the Global Ambassador on Gender Equality. You've really carried the torch, and when the U.S. speaks, the world listens. So it's really important that this torch is carried forward. So I hope that on this occasion, we all give a strong message to all in the U.S., the present government, but also succeeding government, that this is a torch that must be taken forward. We also, of course, congratulate the government of Croatia. The president was here, which is taking over as chair. And on our part, I think it's very important to recognize that the two major gender equality agendas that this equal futures opportunity, equal
this initiative represents is the women's economic empowerment agenda and equal voice participation and leadership in all aspects of decision-making agenda. Now, all of that, plus, of course, everything that goes with it, ending violence against women, everything that goes with it, human rights in its totality, all of that now we have a very strong international compact, gender equality compact, represented in Agenda 2030, and within that in SDG 5. The Sustainable Development Goal 5, gender equality has become a sustainable development goal, and the targets, including these ones, have become sustainable development targets. So we have a very strong representation of what Equal Futures is trying to, and has been trying to advance in this international compact. So the Equal Futures members, member states, should really now become the flag bearers of implementing that gender equality compact that's represented in Agenda 21, in SDG 5. And by the way, women's economic empowerment is seen as a major means of implementation of Agenda 2030 as a whole, but of course SDG 5 in particular, which is about achieving, and not just promoting, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, leaving no women and girl behind. So I think this really gives our mission a new traction. And we have all heard that despite progress, we still have a long way to go. We have heard all the examples, but this is something, a very strong ammunition for us moving forward. Now, I also want to draw attention to the work we are doing as part of in supporting the Secretary General's high-level panel on women's economic empowerment, which is meeting just as we speak and meet here. So that's going to be a major initiative, and I hope members of the Equal Futures Partnership will also weigh in on that. I want to also say that the Equal Futures Partnership is a testament to what is needed in order to get the Gender Equality Compact really going, but also something else that I want to say. One is, of course, as Secretary Kerry said, it's important to see this as a strategic priority. Every government must see this as a strategic priority, must put the political will behind it. Otherwise, it will, if you have 17 goals, of course it is mainstream throughout other goals, but gender, but we still need that political will, that strategic prioritization. The second aspect is we have to find innovative solutions, innovative ways of overcoming the resistance, the inertia, the neglect that this issue has seen in the past and is tending to continue. We just heard how in Croatia we've seen this reversal, and in many other countries. So the risk of reversal and regression is something we have to make irreversible gains. And for that, we really need to find innovative campaigns, innovative ways of changing minds, of winning constituencies. So this is something that we really need to. And then, of course, partnerships, the power of partnerships, of all stakeholders, governments, civil society. And in civil society, I want to emphasize women's movement, which is a very key ally. We have to foster them. They are under tremendous stress in so many parts of the world. So we really need to support them. And we need to foster them, and we need to bring them up into different convening situations where their voice is heard, they can make an impact on decision-making, and hold governments accountable to implementing this Gender Equality Compact. But also the other part of civil society is the youth. Youth will be the change agents for gender equality. So we really need to empower and support youth, young women-led organizations in particular, but also get young men-led organizations to support gender equality. So we have a youth and gender equality strategy at UN Women, which we are rolling out and implementing. And I also want to say that as far as UN Women is concerned, we are working on both women's economic empowerment in 70 countries and on political participation and leadership in 80 countries. But we really need to do much more. So please support us in our programs. And of course, we will work very closely with this peer group that is championing the Equal Futures ideals, and of course, Agenda 2030 and SDG 5. We also need this initiative to work on data revolution and the knowledge revolution and the evidence revolution that we need to take this agenda forward. We need, and UN Women is trying to do that. Yesterday we launched a major initiative with Melinda Gates Foundation on that gender statistics revolution. And then we need, of course, advocacy, huge advocacy campaigns, and the power of social media, but also media in general, has to be deployed. And we have, as you know, very successful campaigns, but we want you all to join them. Planet 50/50 by 2030. Step it up for gender equality. That's one campaign, and I think this is something that can be universally accepted and universally driven. He for She campaign, which is, again, another flagship campaign which has had tremendous impact. Of course, miles to go still, but we are making the dents. And Unite to End Violence Against Women campaign. So these advocacy campaigns are critical. I want to say one last thing, and that's, when this year's UNGA is very much focused on the crisis, the migrant and refugee crisis. So I want to flag that whatever we do in the context of the Equal Futures Partnership and international cooperation on that, I think it's very important to focus on humanitarian settings in the context of conflict and post-conflict peace building, and in the context of course, refugees and migrant settings. So I think in every setting we need to keep this objective front and center. So thank you very much for your leadership, and you can count on UN Women's continued commitment to advancing towards the goals of the Equal Future Partnership, the way we are going about it, but also, last but not least, we cannot get progress without investment. So our strong plea that every government must invest significantly, and what we call transformative financing of gender equality is what is called for. And that also means supporting the global institution that UN Women is in terms of investment in this institution. Thank you very much.
With that, thank you all again. And the only point I would like to emphasize is that this truly is a partnership, and it's only going to work if everyone participates in it. So we're grateful to everyone who's here. Obviously, there's a huge role for governments, for multilateral partners, for the private sector, for civil society. The key to moving women forward is really trying to work together to reinforce each other's efforts. And I think this platform is it's certainly not the only answer, but it's an important piece of the puzzle because it gives us a place to come together to try to do new partnerships, to try to work together in ways that we haven't done before. So thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for participating. Stephanie Foster is right there. She's our point person on our team. If anybody has any ideas, any thoughts, please share them with us. We really very much appreciate it. Thanks so much.